Ryan with E39 Source and back on the E60 M5 again. This one's a 2006. We're doing front Wishbones. I think they're called that. If it were an E39, it'd be a Wishbone. So front straight control arms, essentially. Lemforder's the original equipment manufacturer, which is fantastic. These are cheaper than the genuine BMW. It's the same thing. I will put all of the part numbers in the description. And the Lemforders are great because they come with two nuts. They come with the nut that goes on the ball joint end, and then they come with the nut that goes on the other end of the bolt that holds the control arm end to the front subframe. Now, they do not come with the straight bolts. So if you want to replace the whole bolt and the nut and this nut, you'll have to buy the nut separately. Now, if you're buying parts from a different manufacturer, say genuine BMW or Miley or Phoebe or whoever, you'll probably need all of the hardware, which, check the description, I put it all down there. I've got the bolts and everything here. So that's all we're going to need in parts. It's really not going to be too bad, especially seeing that we have a lift here today. If you don't, use your jacking point, safely raise your car. And a quick little shout out to this awesome little adapter here from ECS Tuning. This thing is perfect for BMWs. It fits right on your lift or jack stands or hydraulic jack. And then the other end grooves perfectly up into the jack pad adapter on the car. So you've got even less risk about the car moving and sliding around or a jack stand coming out. I'll leave the part number and a link to this part in the description below. Now we've got some of the under shielding off. Probably do need to remove the skid pad, seeing that we're going to be working here, and I think it sticks out. Now if you can get to it without it, save yourself some time, but it's just 5 17mm bolts, one in the center and then each corner, and you can remove that stainless or whatever sort of steel this thing is. So with that out of the way, we've got a clear view of our, I think these are 18s, 18mm bolt, 18mm nut. That's what holds the arm here into the subframe. And then on this end, as you can see, we've already gotten to work. I recommend spraying all of this with some PB Blaster before you get to it. Let it soak a while. First thing you do when you get under here and have access is just hit it with some PB Blaster. It's going to make your life easy. This has been a California car for a long time, so it's actually not so bad. We didn't even have to counter hold this ball joint end of the control arm here until the very end. And then it's just a T40 Torx that I put on the end of a breaker bar, counter held the arm, spun the nut off. Now we're going to do an impact gun and a wrench on the back on the 18s, and we'll have this arm out of here in a few minutes. Passenger side is pretty much the same as the driver's side. The difference is you've got your automatic headlight level sensor and bracket here. So on the subframe, where this part of the control arm fits in, you have this additional bracket. Bracket's got a little step in it right here that fits in a groove, and it's just sandwiched in there by the same bolt that holds in the control arm. And then the little arm goes through the little hole. You have to counter hold. When you take this nut off, it's a 10mm nut, and ironically it's a 9mm counter hold. Never seen that on a BMW before. So get a 9mm open-ended wrench, counter hold the back, spin the nut off with a 6-point 10mm socket. And take that off the control arm. Same thing as the other side. 18mm bolt here, 18mm nut over here, counter hold and loosen. And then a T40 is your magic Torx that goes up through the ball joint, and then a 21mm nut on that. And this California car has been very easy. We didn't have to tap it down through the spindle. It just fell right out for us. So we've cleaned up the area. We're going to put the new one in. As we install these new parts, we're not torquing these to spec yet. These have to be torqued under load of the vehicle weight. If we torque it now, in 2,000 miles, the thing's going to be shot. So you can torque this now. I'll get you some figures shortly. But this we'll do later. We're back together. Not so bad. This side's a little bit more challenging, as I mentioned, with the bracket and the arm, but all said and done, back together looks like this. So Torx, we actually lowered the car back to the ground, but we put down some cinder blocks first, put the front wheels back on, let it rest on the cinder blocks. Now we did the rear wheels too, so the whole car was level. Then per BMW TIS, bounce the suspension. That means put your hands on the fender, the hood, and kind of bounce the car up and down a little bit, let it settle. Then 18mm here, as we've talked about, 74 pound-feet, about 100 Newton meters is the best I could find on TIS. So I torqued down the bolt side, then I switched, came over here, and I got another little bit more out of the bolt. So we're at 74 pound-feet here. Same for the driver's side. And then your nut, your 21 nut on top of the ball joint over here at the wheel carrier spindle is 60 pound-feet. I forget the Newton meters on that, but 60 pound-feet there. And I didn't have to counterhold it. I did to initially snug it down, but then once it's nice and snug, you can put a socket on there and torque it with a torque wrench. So we are now done with the front wishbones on the E60 M5. Thanks for watching this one. We'll talk in a future E39 source video.